The champagne tasted like regret in Emma's mouth. She stood alone near table 11, watching couples spin across the marble floor in their $1,000 gowns and borrowed happiness. Her thrift store dress felt like a costume now, the fabric scratching against skin that wanted to disappear. Chloe had vanished 20 minutes ago, just like everyone else in Emma's life eventually did. The ballroom shimmered with fairy lights that reminded her of the night her father left, when she was 7, when she learned that beautiful things could lie. White orchids perfumed the air, cloying and sweet, like the flowers she arranged every day for other people's moments while her own life stayed stubbornly gray. "You look like you're planning an escape." Emma turned. The man standing beside her chair made her forget how to breathe properly. Dark hair, green eyes that looked like they'd seen things they couldn't unsee, a tuxedo that fit him like it was born knowing his body, but it was his smile that caught her off guard, sad at the edges, like he understood what it meant to not belong. "Emma," she said, because her name was the only word her brain could find. "Sebastian." He extended his hand. When their palms touched, electricity sparked up her arm, and she saw something flicker in his eyes. Recognition, maybe, or warning. He sat beside her without asking, close enough that she could smell cedar and rain and something darker underneath. "I'm the best man," he said, "which means I'm supposed to be up there giving toasts and smiling for cameras, but I'm better at running. From what? Everything." His laugh was hollow. "You?" Emma looked down at her cheap clutch purse. "I'm a florist. I spend my days making beauty for people who can afford it. Tonight I'm just someone's pity plus one." "Beauty," Sebastian repeated, something sharp moving behind his expression. "Careful with that word. Beautiful things have teeth." The band started playing something slow and aching. Sebastian stood, offered his hand again, and this time Emma saw the scars on his knuckles. "Faded but there. Stories written in damaged skin. Dance with me," he said. "Not a question. I don't know how. Neither do I. Not anymore." She took his hand anyway. On the dance floor, his arm circled her waist, pulling her close enough to feel his heartbeat against her ribs. He moved like water, like someone who'd learned to hide pain behind grace. Emma let herself be led, let herself forget for 3 minutes that she was lonely, that her mother had died last year, that she woke up every morning wondering if this was all there was. "Tell me something true," Sebastian whispered against her hair. "I'm afraid I'll never matter to anyone." His grip tightened. "I'm afraid I matter too much to the wrong people." Emma pulled back to look at him. Those green eyes were storm dark now, holding secrets that felt like weapons. Around them, guests were staring, whispering. A woman in diamonds watched Sebastian like he was prey. "Who are you really?" Emma asked. Sebastian's jaw tightened. He opened his mouth to answer. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced down. His face went corpse white. "I have to go." He released her so suddenly she stumbled. "Right now." "What? Why?" But he was already moving toward the exit, his shoulders rigid with something that looked like terror. Emma stood frozen in the middle of the dance floor, couples swirling around her like she was a stone in a river. She looked down. Sebastian's phone was on the floor where he'd dropped it. The screen showed a text message. "She knows you're there. Get out. They're coming." Emma's hands shook as she picked it up. The next message made her blood stop. "If you don't finish this, they'll kill everyone you've ever spoken to." Starting with the girl in the cheap dress, her, they meant her. Emma ran. Her heels clicked against marble as she pushed through the ballroom doors into the hotel corridor. Her heart hammered against her ribs like it wanted out. The phone burned in her palm, foreign and dangerous, a thing that knew her death before she did. "Sebastian." Her voice echoed off gilt walls. He was at the elevator, slamming his palm against the button, his tuxedo jacket gone, his white shirt untucked. When he spun toward her, she saw the gun tucked into his waistband. "Go back inside." His voice was steel. "Forget you ever met me." "They mentioned me." Emma held up his phone. "The girl in the cheap dress? That's me. So you don't get to tell me to forget." Sebastian's face twisted. He crossed the distance between them in 3 strides, grabbed her wrist, pulled her into a side hallway that smelled like cleaning supplies and old secrets. "Listen to me very carefully," he said, his breath coming fast. My real name is Sebastian Blackwood. 3 years ago, I testified against the Moretti family. They own half this city's politicians, most of its judges, and all of its fear. I've been in witness protection ever since. Emma's knees felt liquid. You're lying. I wish I was. He released her wrist, ran a hand through his hair. In the dim hallway light, she saw the exhaustion carved into his face, the sleepless nights written in shadows under his eyes. Tonight was supposed to be safe. My handler promised, but someone sold me out. They know I'm here. Then why did you stay? Emma's voice cracked. Why did you dance with me? Sebastian looked at her like she was something holy he didn't deserve to touch. Because for 5 minutes, I remembered what it felt like to be human. Glass shattered somewhere in the building. Shouts, running footsteps. They're here. Sebastian pulled the gun from his waistband. You need to hide. What about you? I've got 3 choices. Run and let them kill everyone in that ballroom looking for me. Stay and die. Or fight. Emma's hands shook, but her voice didn't. There's a 4th choice. There isn't. You take me with you. Sebastian laughed, bitter and broken. You don't understand what you're asking. Then explain it to me while we run. The footsteps were getting closer. Men's voices, hard and fast. Emma saw the moment Sebastian made his decision. Saw something shift in his eyes from protection to partnership. Stay close. Don't talk. If I tell you to run, you run, and you don't look back. They moved through the hotel like ghosts, Sebastian's hand iron tight around hers. He knew every service corridor, every maintenance exit. They burst through a door into an alley behind the building. Rain had started falling, cold and cleansing, washing the fairy tale off Emma's skin. Sebastian's car was black and anonymous. He pushed her into the passenger seat, gunned the engine before she could buckle up. The city blurred past. Neon signs, empty streets. The skeleton of a life Emma thought she knew. Where are we going? She asked. Somewhere they won't think to look. Sebastian's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. My handler's compromised. The safe house is burned. I need to think. Think out loud. He glanced at her, surprised. Why aren't you crying? Emma touched the window, cold glass against warm fingers. My mom died last year. Cancer. I watched her disappear piece by piece until there was nothing left but sheets and regret. After that, men with guns seem almost manageable. Sebastian's throat worked. I'm sorry, don't be. Just drive. They ended up at a motel on the edge of the city, the kind with hourly rates and questions nobody asked. Sebastian paid cash, led Emma to a room that smelled like cigarettes and broken promises. 1 bed, water-stained walls, a window that looked out onto nothing. We need to get you home, Sebastian said, pacing. I'll call someone I trust. Get you protected. This was a mistake. Stop. Emma sat on the bed, kicked off her ruined heels. You said they mentioned me. That means I'm already in this. You don't know what you're talking about. Then tell me. She stood, crossed to him, made him look at her. Tell me why your handler sold you out. Tell me what you testified about. Tell me why you looked at me on that dance floor like I was the first true thing you'd seen in years. Sebastian's jaw clenched. The silence between them was a living thing. Finally, he spoke. The Moretti's traffic people. Women, mostly. I was their accountant before I knew what the numbers meant. When I found out, when I tried to leave, they killed my sister to keep me quiet. So I burned their empire down from the inside. Gave the FBI everything. Emma's breath caught. Your sister, Lily, she was 23. An art student. They made it look like a robbery. Sebastian's voice was flat, empty of everything except old grief. I testified to put them in prison. But their reach is long. My handler, Agent Morrison, he's been like a father to me. If he sold me out, then someone has leverage on him too. Sebastian looked at her sharply. You're smarter than you pretend to be. And you're more broken than you let on. They stared at each other across 3 feet of stale air. Rain hammered the window. Emma's heart hammered her ribs. Sebastian's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. Went still as death. What? Emma asked. He turned the phone toward her. A photo. Agent Morrison bound to a chair, blood on his face. The message below it. You have 24 hours to turn yourself in, or we start killing everyone. The florist is first. Below that, another photo. Emma's apartment. Her bedroom window. Taken from inside. Emma couldn't stop staring at the photo of her bedroom. The purple curtains she'd sewn herself, her grandmother's quilt, the photo of her mother on the nightstand, all of it violated by whoever had stood inside her sanctuary, breathing her air, touching her things. I'm going to be sick. She barely made it to the bathroom before her stomach emptied. Sebastian was there immediately, holding her hair back, his hand steady on her shoulder. I'm sorry, he said. God, Emma, I'm so sorry. She wiped her mouth, leaned against the wall. How did they find my apartment? Facial recognition. Traffic cameras. They probably ID'd you the moment I touched you on that dance floor. Sebastian's face was granite. This is what they do. They find your weaknesses and exploit them. Then what do we do? There's no we. Sebastian pulled her to standing, but his hands were gentle. I'm taking you to the FBI field office. They'll put you in protective custody while I figure this out. Emma jerked away. You think the FBI is safe? Your handler just got kidnapped. Emma. No. She faced him, water still dripping down her chin. They're in my apartment, Sebastian. They were inside my home. Where do you think I'll be safe? A hotel? A safe house that's probably already compromised? Or here, with the one person who has more reason to keep me alive than anyone else? Sebastian's jaw worked. You don't understand what you're asking for. I understand that in 24 hours they'll kill your handler if you don't surrender. I understand that I'm bait, and I understand that you're planning to trade yourself for him, which means we both die. How did you know that? Emma laughed, sharp and bitter. Because that's what good people do. They sacrifice themselves. My mother did it every day, working herself to death so I could have a life. And look where it got her. Something cracked in Sebastian's expression. He crossed to her, cupped her face in scarred hands. Your mother sounds like she was extraordinary. She was. Emma's throat burned. And she died alone in a hospital room while I was at work, arranging flowers for a stranger's wedding. So don't tell me about sacrifice. Don't tell me about doing the right thing. Sometimes the right thing is staying alive. Sebastian's thumb traced her cheekbone. What are you suggesting? Fight back. Find who sold out your handler. Hit them before they hit us. That's not how this works. Then make it work. Emma grabbed his wrists. You said you burned their empire down once. Do it again. For a long moment, Sebastian just looked at her. The rain had stopped. Dawn was breaking through the cheap curtains, painting everything gold and possible. You're dangerous, he said softly. So are you. He kissed her then, hard and desperate, tasting like rain and ruin and something sharp that might have been hope. Emma kissed him back, pouring 3 years of loneliness into his mouth. Every flower she'd arranged for other people's love stories. Every night she'd gone home to an empty apartment and wondered if this was all there was. When they broke apart, they were both breathing hard. Okay, Sebastian said. Okay, but we do this my way. He pulled out his laptop, started typing. Emma watched over his shoulder as lines of code scrolled past, bank accounts, encrypted files. His fingers flew across the keyboard like he was playing an instrument. What are you doing? Following the money. The Morettis have legitimate businesses as fronts. Art galleries, restaurants, shipping companies. But they're all connected through shell corporations. If I can trace the payments to whoever sold out Morrison, I can find who's really pulling the strings. Won't they see you hacking? Not if I'm using their own systems against them. Sebastian pulled up a screen showing security camera feeds. These are from their main warehouse. Watch. Emma leaned closer. The warehouse was full of crates and shadows, men with guns patrolling, and in the corner, tied to a chair, Agent Morrison. He's alive, Emma breathed. For now. Sebastian's face was grim. But look at the timestamp. This footage is 3 hours old. They could have killed him already. Or it's a trap. Definitely a trap. Sebastian kept typing. But there's something wrong with the image. See that reflection in the window behind Morrison? Emma squinted. In the glass, barely visible, was the silhouette of whoever was filming, and on their jacket, a logo she recognized. That's the Grandmore Hotel security uniform. Sebastian went still. Say that again. The jacket. It's from the hotel. I saw the staff wearing them tonight. Sebastian's eyes went dark. The wedding wasn't random. They knew I'd be there. They planned this. His fingers flew faster. Someone at the Grandmore is working with them. Someone who knew the venue, who knew the layout, who could plant cameras and track guests. Can you find out who? Already on it. Sebastian pulled up employee records, started cross-referencing. Then he stopped. His face went white. "What?" Emma asked. He turned the laptop toward her. On the screen was a personnel file, a photo of a smiling woman in her 30s, dark hair, kind eyes, name Chloe Martinez, position, event coordinator. Emma's world tilted. "No, I'm sorry. She's my best friend. We've known each other for 5 years. She got me the job at the flower shop. She was supposed to be my +1 tonight, not the other way around." Emma's voice was rising. "You're wrong. You have to be wrong." Sebastian pulled up another screen. Security footage from the hotel. There was Chloe, hours before the wedding, talking to a man in an expensive suit. The man handed her a thick envelope. Chloe counted the money, nodded, walked away. The timestamp was 3 days ago. "She set me up," Emma whispered. "She knew you'd be at that wedding. She knew they were looking for you. And she brought me there to make sure you'd stop, to make sure you'd talk to someone who looked lonely and lost. Emma, she used my mother's death. She knew I was vulnerable. She knew I'd say yes to anything that got me out of my apartment." Emma's hands shook. "How much did they pay her?" Sebastian checked the account trail. $50,000. 50,000. The cost of Emma's trust, the price of her best friend's loyalty. Emma stood, walked to the window. Outside, the sun was fully up now, burning away the rain. The world looked the same as it always had. But nothing was the same. Nothing would ever be the same. "We're going to that warehouse," she said. "Emma, no. They used me as bait. They violated my home. My friend sold me out." Emma turned, and Sebastian saw something new in her eyes. Something cold and sharp and absolutely certain. "So yes, we're going. And we're getting Morrison back. And then we're going to make them pay for every single thing they've taken from us." Sebastian studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded once. "Okay." He pulled out his gun, checked the clip. "But first we need weapons. And a plan. And probably a miracle. I know where we can get all 3. Emma pulled out her phone, dialed a number. After 2 rings, someone picked up. "Hey, Jake," she said, her voice steady as stone. "Remember how you said you owed me a favor after I arranged flowers for your daughter's funeral? I'm calling it in." Jake Sullivan ran a pawn shop on the south side, the kind of place where you could buy yesterday's regrets for tomorrow's cash. Emma had arranged white lilies for his daughter's funeral 2 years ago, charged him half price because she'd seen the grief eating him alive. Now he owed her. And Jake was the kind of man who paid his debts. "This is a bad idea," Sebastian said as they pulled up to the shop. The sun was high now, brutal and unforgiving. Emma's dress was ruined, mascara smudged under her eyes, but she'd never looked more dangerous. "You have a better one?" Sebastian didn't answer. Jake was waiting inside, arms crossed over his barrel chest. Ex-military, Emma knew. The kind of ex that never really left the war behind. He looked at Sebastian, then at Emma, then at the gun in Sebastian's waistband. "You didn't mention we were going to war," Jake said. "I didn't know we were." Emma stepped forward. "But now I do. And I need your help." Jake's eyes softened. "The flowers you gave us for Sarah. Nobody else would have thought to include forget-me-nots. Her favorite since she was 6. He cleared his throat. "What do you need?" 20 minutes later, they were armed. Nothing fancy. 2 handguns, a shotgun, 3 bulletproof vests that had seen better days. Jake threw in a combat knife and didn't ask questions. "The warehouse is on the docks," Sebastian said as they drove. Emma navigated from the passenger seat. Jake in the back, cleaning his weapons with the efficiency of muscle memory. 3 visible guards outside, probably 6 more inside. They'll expect me to come in through the front, guns blazing and stupid. "So we don't," Emma said. "There's a storm drain that runs under the building. Maintenance access. It'll be locked, but Jake can handle locks." Jake grunted. "And after we're inside, we get Morrison. We get evidence that ties the Morettis to the corruption, and we get out alive." Sebastian's hands were steady on the wheel, but Emma saw the tension in his shoulders. "Emma, I need you to stay in the car." "No. This isn't negotiable." "You're right. It isn't." Emma checked her gun, surprised by how natural it felt in her hand. "They made this about me the moment they stepped into my apartment." "I'm seeing this through." Sebastian pulled over, sudden and sharp, turned to face her. "You could die. I could die tomorrow crossing the street. At least this way, I die doing something that matters. Your mother wouldn't want this. Emma's laugh was broken glass. My mother spent her whole life playing it safe, working a job she hated, staying in a marriage that killed her slowly, never taking risks. And you know what she told me 3 days before she died? That her only regret was not living louder. She met Sebastian's eyes. I'm done being quiet. Something shifted in Sebastian's expression. Respect, maybe. Or recognition of someone who'd already made peace with their own mortality. Okay, he said. But you do exactly what I say. No heroes. The warehouse loomed against the water like a broken tooth, rust and rot and the smell of dead fish. They parked 3 blocks away, moved through shadows with Jake on point. The storm drain entrance was exactly where Sebastian said it would be. Jake had the lock open in 30 seconds. Military training, he said at Emma's look. Some skills you don't forget. The drain was tight and dark and smelled like things that had died a long time ago. They crawled through in silence, Emma's dress catching on jagged metal, her breath coming short. Above them, footsteps, voices. Boss says the Blackwood guy won't show. Too smart. Boss is an idiot. Guy's got a hero complex. He'll come. What about the girl? Collateral. We'll kill her first, make him watch. Emma felt Sebastian go rigid in front of her. His hand found hers in the dark, squeezed once. A promise or an apology? Maybe both. The drain opened into a maintenance room. Bare concrete electrical panels, 1 exit. Jake checked the door, held up 3 fingers. 3 guards in the hallway beyond. Sebastian nodded, pulled out his knife. What happened next was brutal and efficient. Jake moved first, silent as death, taking down the first guard before he could shout. Sebastian had the second. Hand over mouth, blade to throat. Clean, quick, necessary. The third guard reached for his radio. Emma didn't think. Just raised her gun and fired. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space. The guard went down, clutching his shoulder. Not dead. Emma had aimed low, some part of her still holding on to who she used to be. Emma. Sebastian was beside her, taking the gun from her shaking hands. You okay? She nodded, lying. Nothing was okay. Nothing would ever be okay again. They found Morrison in a storage room at the back. He was alive but beaten, one eye swollen shut, blood crusted on his lips. When he saw Sebastian, he tried to smile. Told you, Morrison rasped. Told you to run. When have I ever listened? Sebastian cut the ropes binding him. Who sold you out? Morrison's good eye found Emma. Who's she? A florist who's in over her head. Sebastian hauled Morrison to his feet. Names now. You don't understand. It goes higher than the Morettis. Federal judges. City council. The assistant director of the FBI. Morrison coughed, spitting blood. They've been using the witness protection program to tie up loose ends. Relocate people who know too much, then eliminate them quietly. I found out 3 weeks ago. Was going to expose it. They got to me first. The room went cold. How many? Sebastian's voice was hollow. 17 witnesses in the last 2 years. All reported as relocated. All actually dead. Emma thought of Lily, Sebastian's sister. 23 years old, an art student, killed to keep Sebastian quiet. She thought of all the people who'd trusted the system to save them, only to be murdered by the same hands that promised protection. We need to go, Jake said from the door. Now. More coming. They moved fast, Morrison between Sebastian and Jake, Emma bringing up the rear. The warehouse erupted behind them. Shouts, gunfire. Jake returned fire, covering their escape. They were almost to the storm drain when Morrison stopped. Wait. No time, Sebastian said. The files. Morrison pulled a USB drive from his pocket with shaking hands. Everything's here. Names, accounts, orders. Enough to take down the whole operation, but they know I have it. They'll never let us leave. Emma saw the calculation in Morrison's eyes. The math of sacrifice, no, Sebastian said, reading his mind. Don't you dare. Morrison smiled, sad and final. You were like a son to me. For 3 years you were what I fought for, what I stayed alive for. He pressed the USB drive into Sebastian's hand. Now it's your turn to fight. Dad, no. The word slipped out, raw and true. Give me your gun. Morrison. Son, give me your gun. Sebastian's hand shook as he passed over his weapon. Morrison checked the clip, nodded once. Then he turned and walked back toward the warehouse. "Go," he called over his shoulder. "Get that drive to someone clean. Agent Sarah Chen, San Francisco field office. She's one of the good ones. And Sebastian?" He looked back one last time. "Make them pay for Lily." The last thing Emma saw was Morrison walking into the warehouse, gun raised. A man choosing his death so others could choose their lives. Then Sebastian was dragging her into the storm drain, Jake behind them, and the world exploded in gunfire and screaming and the sound of Morrison's last stand. They ran through the dark. Behind them, the shooting stopped. They emerged 3 blocks away, covered in filth and grief. Sebastian collapsed against a wall, the USB drive clutched in his fist, his face carved from stone. "He's gone," Jake said quietly. Sebastian didn't answer, just stared at the drive like it was a piece of his own heart, torn out and bleeding. Emma knelt beside him, took his face in her hands. "He died so you could live. Don't waste it." Sebastian's eyes met hers and she saw the moment he made his choice. Grief later. Justice now. "We need to get this drive to Chen," he said, standing. "Tonight, before they know we have it. It's a 12-hour drive to San Francisco," Jake said. "Then we better start driving." They were halfway to Jake's truck when Sebastian's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. "Went perfectly still. What?" Emma asked. He turned the phone toward her, a video message. Chloe, bound and gagged, tears streaming down her face. The camera panned to show her location, Emma's flower shop. Her shop, where she'd spent 5 years building something beautiful. A man's voice, cold and amused. "You have 2 hours to bring us the drive. Or we burn everything she loves, starting with the trader who helped you, then the shop, then the girl herself." The video ended. Emma looked at Sebastian, at Jake, at the USB drive that could save hundreds of lives. 2 hours. One choice, no good answers. The flower shop looked exactly as Emma had left it yesterday morning. Windows displaying arrangements of roses and lilies, the sign she'd painted herself, letters slightly crooked but full of hope. 5 years of dreams and early mornings and calloused hands. Everything she'd built after her mother died, trying to create beauty in a world that kept taking it away. Now Chloe was inside. The woman who'd been her best friend. The woman who'd sold her for $50,000. The woman who was about to die because Emma had a choice to make. "We could call the police," Jake said from the driver's seat. They were parked half a block away, watching. "Waiting. Corrupted," Sebastian said. "Morrison's files prove it. Half the department is on the Moretti payroll. Then we go in. Fast and hard. They'll kill Chloe the second they see us." Sebastian looked at Emma. "This is your call." Emma stared at her shop. At the purple flowers in the window, forget-me-nots, like the ones she'd given Jake for his daughter. She thought about Chloe laughing over coffee, Chloe holding her hand at her mother's funeral, Chloe texting her at 2 a.m. when neither of them could sleep. 5 years of friendship built on what she'd thought was love, but now knew was something more fragile. "More transactional. She betrayed me," Emma said quietly. "Used my grief, my loneliness. She knew I'd be vulnerable and she exploited it. For money. Yes," Sebastian said, "but she's also terrified right now. And whatever she did, she doesn't deserve to die for it." Jake shifted. "So what do you want to do?" Emma pulled out her phone, dialed a number she knew by heart. Inside the shop, she saw movement. A man answered. "Smart girl," the voice said. "You coming to make a trade?" "No," Emma said. "I'm coming to make you an offer. We don't negotiate. You will with this." Emma's voice was steady as stone. "The drive Morrison gave us doesn't just have information about your operation. It has records of every corrupt official you own. Every judge, every cop, every federal agent. If anything happens to me, to Sebastian, or to Chloe, that information goes to every news outlet in the country. The New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, all of it, simultaneously. Silence on the other end. You're bluffing." "Am I?" "Sebastian, show him." Sebastian held up his laptop. On the screen, draft emails loaded with attachments, addressed to 24 media outlets. His finger hovered over the send button. "We uploaded everything to a dead man's switch," Emma continued. If we don't check in every 12 hours, it sends automatically. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to let Chloe go. You're going to walk away from my shop. And you're going to tell whoever you work for that Sebastian Blackwood is off limits. Forever. Or we burn your entire empire down. Right now. In the next 5 seconds. Your choice. The silence stretched. Emma counted her heartbeats. 1, 2, 3. You'd really throw away your chance at justice. For her? Emma looked at the shop. At Sebastian. At the USB drive in his hand that could save so many people. Justice isn't about revenge. It's about choosing who we become when we have the power to destroy. Another pause. Then, you've got guts, florist. I'll give you that. The line went dead. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then the shop door opened. Chloe stumbled out, hands still bound, mascara running. A black sedan pulled away from the curb, slow and deliberate. A message, a promise. This wasn't over. But for now, they'd won. Sebastian looked at Emma. You just gave up everything we fought for. No, Emma said. I didn't. She held up her phone. On the screen, a confirmation message. Upload complete. Files received. Beginning investigation. Thank you for your service. Agent Sarah Chen, FBI San Francisco. I sent everything while you were driving, Emma said. The dead man's switch was real, but the files were already gone. I just needed to buy us time to get Chloe out. Sebastian stared at her. Then he started laughing. Broken, exhausted, alive. You're terrifying. I learned from the best. Jake got out, cut Chloe's bonds. She collapsed against the wall, sobbing. When she saw Emma, her face crumpled. I'm sorry, Chloe choked out. God, Emma, I'm so sorry. My brother, he's sick. He needed treatment, and they offered money. And I didn't think they'd actually hurt you. I swear I didn't think... Stop. Emma knelt beside her. What you did was unforgivable. You sold my trust, my safety, my life, for money. I know. But I also know what it's like to watch someone you love die, because you can't afford to save them. Emma's throat burned. So I'm going to give you one chance. One, you disappear. You take your brother and you run. And you never contact me again. Understand? Chloe nodded, tears streaming. I don't deserve this. No, you don't. Emma stood. But maybe that's the point. She walked away, back to Sebastian, back to Jake, back to the life she'd chosen over revenge. Behind her, Chloe's sobs faded into the distance. What now? Jake asked. Sebastian looked at Emma, at the USB drive, at the future stretching out uncertain and dangerous and somehow impossibly hopeful. Now we disappear. Chen will handle the investigation, but it'll take months before it's safe for us to surface. We'll need new identities. New lives. Together? Emma asked. Sebastian took her hand, scarred knuckles against calloused palms. Two broken people who'd found each other in a ballroom and chosen to become something more than their damage. Together, he said. They drove out of the city as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of fire and gold. Emma watched her flower shop disappear in the rearview mirror. 5 years of her life, gone. But she'd built it once. She could build it again. In the front seat, Jake was already making calls. New IDs, safe houses, a friend who owed him a favor in Montana. Sebastian's hand found Emma's in the dark. Any regrets? Emma thought about her mother, who'd died playing it safe. About Morrison, who'd died choosing courage. About the girl she'd been yesterday, alone in a champagne dress, wondering if her life would ever mean something. None, she said. And for the first time in years, she meant it. They drove through the night, leaving behind the city and its ghosts. Ahead of them, mountains rose against the stars, dark and unknowable. Somewhere in those mountains, they'd build a new life. Something quieter, something earned. The files would do their work. The corrupt would fall, and two people who'd started as strangers at a wedding would become whatever they chose to be. Not victims, not heroes, just human, just enough. 3 months later, Emma opened a small flower shop in a town where nobody knew her name. The sign out front was crooked, painted by hand, but full of hope. Sebastian worked construction, his scarred hands building homes instead of breaking worlds. At night, they lay together in a house that smelled like pine and rain, and Emma told him about the flowers she'd arranged that day. Sebastian told her about the deck he was building for a family with 3 kids. They never talked about the wedding. About Morrison's sacrifice. About the choice they'd made to save a traitor instead of taking revenge. But sometimes, late at night, Emma would wake to find Sebastian staring at the ceiling. She'd take his hand, and he'd pull her close, and they'd remember together all the people they'd lost, all the people they'd saved, all the people they'd chosen to become. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Sebastian asked once. Emma thought about it. About Chloe, who'd sent a single text 3 months ago. "My brother is in remission." "Thank you. I'm sorry." About Agent Chen's calls, updating them on the investigation that was taking down an empire 1 arrest at a time. About Morrison, who'd walked into gunfire so they could walk into sunrise. "I think we did the only thing we could live with," Emma said. "And maybe that's enough." Sebastian kissed her forehead. "It's more than enough." Outside, the world turned. The corrupt fell. The truth came out. And in a small town where nobody knew their names, 2 people who'd met in a ballroom built a life from the ashes of who they used to be. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't safe, but it was theirs, and that was everything. The end.